In this video, we'll be reviewing how to utilize Google Slides to create custom backgrounds for Jamboards. I'm starting with a Google Slide presentation that I've actually used to create other backgrounds, and I want to mention this as one technique that you can create one file, one Google Slide file, and create all of your background templates inside that file. First thing to know is that it's important to set your background for the correct size so that the Jamboard screen will be covered effectively. If you go into your File menu in Google Slides and come down to Page Setup, you're going to want to go to the Custom Setup. Once you're in Custom Setup, you can either do 20 inches by 11.25 inches, or you can switch to the Pixels menu, and in Pixels this is 1920 pixels by 1080 pixels. So either one will work. You can leave it in inches. 20 by 11.5 will work best. Click Apply, and now your file is ready to go. I have a blank title slide here, and in this case I'm going to actually just select that frame for the title and delete it because I do not need it and I do not need the subtitle. Now the simplest, I would say, visual way to differentiate your slides in a Jamboard is by changing the background color. So when you are on a Google Slide presentation, if you right-click on the screen, you can go to Change Background, and there's a color box which you can do the click down and select literally any color. You can use one of the preloaded colors, or you could even add your own custom hex color. You could go to the gradient side and pick different gradients. I'm pretty straightforward. I usually stick with the standard colors, and I usually go with this row right here underneath the very vibrant colors. So if I wanted a purple background, I could go with that. As soon as I hit done, I see it. If I like it, I'm good to go. So if I want to make different colors for, say, my teams, I could right-click and duplicate that slide for as many teams as I want to have. Say I've got 5 teams that usually, I have the green team, the yellow team, the blue team, the purple team. I can go ahead and do that. I can duplicate that and then go into each slide. So I'll go back to slide 2, right-click, change background, and this time I'm going to choose the blue, and I can move through my slides and customize them very quickly in that manner. So that is one way of creating a custom background in Jamboard that is just based on the actual physical color of the slide itself. Remember, the benefit to making a custom Jamboard is that a background file cannot be changed by a student. Now, could they delete it? Certainly. Could they replace it with their own background? Absolutely, if they have editing rights, correct? But we're going to hope that they realize that you can track that activity through version history. And so if you are making custom color backgrounds or graphic organizer of some type, there will not be any benefit for them in changing those backgrounds. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this slide one more time because I want to talk about creating your own graphic organizer. Now, we did talk in the earlier lesson about how to use pre-created graphic organizers in Google Drawings, but what if you want to create something that is customized? So in this case, I wanted to make a T-chart, and I'm just going to give you a preview of what it looked like. I was working on the ISTE standards with a group of campus leadership, and I wanted them to look at this one standard and kind of discuss, where are we as a district in implementing this leadership standard, and what are considerations for the future? Well, this is not a standard graphic organizer that I downloaded from anywhere. I just simply created the text boxes and I formatted them using all my standard text tools. I then created the lines that are here on the screen and added the headings. I am not going to take the time to show every bit of that process, but I did want to give you a couple of tips if you are deciding to create your own graphic organizers within Jamboard through Google Slides. Remember, on your menu up here, when you're on a slide, you've got the ability to insert shapes as well as lines, and lines can be formatted to be different types of lines. I was using the straight line function, and when you select that, you're generally going to click on the screen wherever you want your line to start and then draw it across. Now, one tip is that if you hold down the Shift key, it will help you to keep that line straight, right? And if you don't get it exactly to the edge of the screen, don't worry. Now, that's an attractive line, but it's very thin. So I can come up here right next to the line color. If I wanted to change that to a darker black, I could. And then I could adjust the pixels. So I want to make this a very thick line. Because the two blue dots are visible at each end of the line, that's telling me that that line is selected, and any actions I take would edit that line at that point. So I do want to make sure that line is selected before I change line colors, line widths, or even the style of the line if I wanted to change the style. All of that is possible using the menu options at the top. Now, in this instance, I noticed that my line is aligned very nicely here on the left-hand side, but on the right-hand side, I didn't quite get it to the edge of my file. So I'm going to select the line by clicking on it one time. I see the blue dot, and I'm going to hold down my Shift key and use my right arrow key to just slowly stretch that line. When you use your arrow keys, and you're holding down the Shift key, it's going to be a much more accurate placement of the line on the screen. And I see I still want to go a little more. Can you tell I'm a perfectionist? I am. But I find that it's worth it for me to take the time to build these objects because I'm going to use them over and over again. So therefore, I like to get them right and know that I'll be good to go in the future. Okay, one other tip, if you're doing lines, you might also want to be using some of the shapes that are contained within Google Slides. So remember, you've got a shapes menu here, and you've got all kinds of auto shapes that you could create, from rectangles to circles. So if you want to build your own Venn diagram or anything like that, you can do that utilizing shapes here. So let me just show you an example of drawing an overlapping Venn diagram. Well, what I notice is that I've got a white background, and maybe that's good for the visual of this Venn diagram, maybe not. So I can always change my mind about that later. If I've got a shape size that I like, it's best to just duplicate that shape so that you're not trying to, actually redo it and make it exactly the same size. So you can copy and paste is usually the fastest way to do that, and then drag the second shape over. And you can use the guiding lines on your Google slide to help align everything. Now, one thing we've noticed about the shapes is that, they've got interior color and they've got exterior lines around the edge of them. So if we want those to be visible, we would have to do that. If we want to get rid of the interior color, we can come up here to the fill color and make it transparent. So that is one way to help differentiate some of those items in a graphic organizer. Now, once you have a slide ready and you are ready to put it into a Jamboard, what do? Well, what I like to do is select the slide that I'm going to use, and then and under the File menu, you have Download. Now, notice when you come down to Download, you can download a PNG of the current slide, and that's usually the file format that I recommend. So I'm just going to do that for my color slides because I want to make a new Jamboard template that's based on colors. So I'm just going to click on each one of these slides that I wish to download. I'm going to go to File, Download, PNG, and then I usually name them something very simple just so that I can find them, because I'm going to put them into my Jamboard template right away. So as I continue to File, Download, PNG, and then name it, I'm just naming it the frame number for now, File, Download, PNG. And when I have finished preparing all these, my next move will be to go into Jamboard and create my custom backgrounds. So now that I have all of the PNG files downloaded and saved, and I've just got them on my desktop, I didn't put them anywhere fancy. I could upload them into Google Drive and save them for later, but I've always got this Google Slides presentation, so I'm not as worried about saving the individual copies of each of the slides. So I'm going to go into a Jamboard, and this is a brand new file. Notice it's untitled Jam, and I'm just going to call this Master Color Backgrounds. And once I've named my file, I almost always immediately go to the Share menu and set it up so that within my district, any student could edit it. And that will just help me later when I'm copying this over and over again, or I'm attaching it to a Google Classroom assignment. I won't have to worry about the permissions being wrong in the original file. All right, so now I've got my master color backgrounds. I'm on frame 1, and I can expand this down and see I only have one frame. And on frame 1, I'm going to go to Set Background and add an image. The image that I'm going to add is one that I'm going to upload. Now I can do that one of two ways. I can browse my computer, or if I can still see the files here, I can just click and drag them straight into my Jamboard. And now I have my frame 1. I'm going to go to frame 2, and that is also why I often just name these files very quickly with the number of the frame that they are going to be going into. So now I have frame 2, I can move on to frame 3, set background, add the custom image, drag that up and repeat it until I have my 5 frames set and ready to go. Now, if for some reason I wanted to preset text on those frames, I can do so in one of several ways. Remember, this color has been set to be the background for that slide, and so therefore I can put on top of it anything that I would like. I can go into my Jamboard and I can create a sticky note to put up in the corner with directions. I can use a text box. Whatever it is that I would like to do, I can preset. The one thing you cannot do is easily copy from frame to frame something like a sticky note. So that's just one thing. You can duplicate it, but unless something's changed, you can't drag it from one Jamboard to another. So that's just something to think about as you are laying out your activity. Now remember, on a Jamboard frame, you can preset text boxes. You can preset anything you'd like, image files. So as much or as little scaffolding as your students may need can be provided through Jamboard. There will be a separate video showing you how to locate some images from TextQuest, because they are very helpful for finding images that are graphic organizers as well as different scientific cycles. So that will be a separate video available for you in this course. I hope that this will be helpful for you as you are designing your custom Jamboard backgrounds.